All right, hello, friends. Welcome back to the Gaming Dad Fujo podcast. This is episode number 12. We are recording this on November the 15th, 2023. I am Fujosevic, a former professional Hearthstone player and current analytical chemist working in the pharmaceutical industry. This is a place where we talk about all of the gaming and non gaming related things we used to talk about when I was streaming regularly and interrupt myself in the gameplay that we were doing, except now with no gameplay. And on today's episode, we will be talking about the official hardcore classic WoW servers. We're going to talk about Tears of the Kingdom. We're going to do some quick recaps of all the things that we've missed since the last time we have spoken. And we will be talking about an incredible Gaming Dad Fujo topic that I was so happy to learn a little bit about, the Sriracha shortages. Let's get started. He's got no time to play video games. He's the Gaming Dad Fujo. Nailed it. All right, we're going to jump right in and start with talking about Tears of the Kingdom. So it's been over 6 months since we recorded, about 6.5, 7 months since we posted. I was supposed to record it 6.5 months ago, and then life happened. And that's fine, that's good. I took some detailed notes about Tears of the Kingdom, and my plan was, well, we're going to be doing the podcast and recording regularly. I'll talk about it as I'm discovering the world and all this stuff. And the game's amazing. You've probably played it or seen it or heard people talk about it. It's fantastic. It starts off with it is a continuation of Breath of the Wild. It's fantastic. You start off max powered, super geared out, exploring underground Hyrule Castle with Zelda, and the Master Sword breaks, and then you're using the broken Master Sword to chop down vines, which is very Ocarina of Time feeling. You come out of this cave, and I made this note when it happened. You're walking out of this cave, and you slowly, quietly hear birds before you can even see the light, and then you see light out of a tunnel as you're coming out of this cave. It's incredible. The cookbook is a fantastic quality of life improvement, and then the game's just massive. I almost want to. I haven't beaten it yet. Take my time, as you can imagine, busy, but I take my time with these things. And even with Breath of the Wild, I didn't want to beat it because then I thought, well, then it's done. I've beaten it. Obviously, there's a 1,001 things I won't ever be able to do, have the time to do. Korok's notwithstanding, but just all the shrines and all the mini quests, and the world of Tears of the Kingdom feels so jam packed. It's going back to Breath of the Wild would make that world feel so empty. And maybe one day I'd like to do it and stuff. But for now, it's just Tears of the Kingdom incredible. I still haven't beaten. I did get the Master Sword. I've done one of the 4 dungeons, the official, quote unquote, official dungeons, even though each shrine is like a mini dungeon puzzle, which is incredible. And I'm loving it. The game's fantastic. I put it down for a while. I want to get back into it. For some reason, I also have a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Twitch right now. An itch. I'd love to be streaming back on Twitch, but we can't do that. And so maybe I'll start booting those both up a little bit more. But I think that's all we're going to talk about Tears of the Kingdom, because I was going to go in depth, but obviously, again, basically everything this episode is going to kind of be, let's just get caught up. We're going to quickly skim over some topics as we're kind of getting reacquainted, getting back up to see what we've missed in the past 6 months, half a year since we've spoken. I miss you all. I miss doing this. So hardcore classic WoW has been incredible. Official servers came out. I've lost a level 23 mage. I lost to a bad pull. That was my fault. I lost a level 26 rogue to disconnect, which was heartbreaking because I was doing everything right. Had geared up weapons, had a couple gold on them. That was unfortunate. And now Seasons Discovery has been announced for November 30th, which is 15 days away from this recording, probably 13 days away from when this gets posted. There has been some cool hardcore WoW news that would have been talked about as it was happening. Obviously, the first World First, level 60. There's a little bit of controversy about some possible account sharing. There was a lot of streaming going on, but with no camera, no mic. So it kind of seemed like, well, maybe you have some people play while you're sleeping so your character can keep grinding. None of it's confirmed because once level 60 hit, then the mic and the camera came on, and that's we're not gonna dive into that, relitigate that. That's fine. Whatever happened. That person got their first level 60. One thing that happened in Classic WoW, the heroic Lich King Ice Crown Citadel raid was released, and the Guild Progress came in and one-shot the Lich King. First try, a couple hours after it got got released and went live. It was a pretty cool achievement. Apparently, that guild progress did 200. They claim to have done 250 Lich King pulls on the PTR, the public test realm. So obviously, having public test realm, still an incredible achievement. They put in a lot of work. That's not taking anything away from that, being able to go in a one shot when it's live. You put in a lot of work and effort. And by 10 p.m. of the first night, 12 guilds had downed Lich King, which is pretty cool to see. Obviously, with, however many decades ago the Lich King originally went live. But that's a huge, obviously iconic moment in WoW history. So pretty cool to see how that all went down. What else has happened? The Guild Frontier in the official hardcore, now jumping from Wrath. There's a bunch of WoW servers, obviously, we talk about the Wrath servers in the official hardcore classic servers. The Guild Frontier got the first hardcore Kel'Thuzad kill, which is pretty cool. They got KT down in Nax. And it was really interesting. I've seen the clip online. You can watch it too. But their GM died during the fight and just casually says no heals, and then continues working on all the calls for the raid. Just like obviously not thrilled that they lost their hardcore character, but still there for the team and just like no kills, no heals, and keep going. And they get Lich King down, the Kel'Thuzad down. Super cool. Get through Nax. There's also one moment. The raid was definitely saved from a wipe. There was a lay on hands on their tank where they were apparently, when people look at the logs, they're down at 3% health, and then lost 80% more of their health almost immediately. And we're obviously then healers were pumping the heals. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool achievement. That would have been a massive wipe, and a massive shout out and congrats to the Guild Frontier. So there's a couple things. Obviously, we would have dove more in depth into these things if they were happening more live and we were there following up on it. We're going to get into next. Let's talk about Season of Discovery. That's a more recent thing. So Season of Discovery is the next season of the classic WoW, following up Season of Mastery, which had slightly harder raids, had increased experience for quests. Season of Discovery is about rediscovering Azeroth, which is pretty cool. They're going to have a whole bunch of things happening. This rune engraving system, cheaper respecs. The rune engraving is a new skill for characters that either modify or add new skills for every class. You add them to different item slots and the way that this season is being released is in different phases. First phase maxes out at level 25. There's going to be a level 25 raid at BFD, which is pretty cool. There's going to be a PvP that's going to be in Ashenvale. There's going to be PvP in the zone. The classes are completely just, Warlocks are going to be tanking. Druids are going to be tanking even better. Who else is going to be tanking? Rogues are going to be tanking. Shaman are going to be tanking. That's what I want to play. Then the subsequent, just so we're clear, so we said the first group of levels is 1 to 25. Then we're going up to 40, then 50, and then 60. It's going to be kind of interesting. And the one really cool thing about this is the runes are discovered by doing different challenges in the game. So it's not just you level up and at level 14, I know I'm getting whatever spell, I'm getting rank 2 of whatever spell, which is great. And I love Classic for the way it does it, very RPG feel. And that's why it has so much staying power. And, 45 years after it gets released, people like myself are still playing and talking about it. But the runes are learned by these discoveries. And they're just, and apparently there's going to be also multiple ways to discover each of these different runes, different things, maybe quests, maybe challenging quests, working with other characters. And there's no PTR for this. So people are not going to be able to go in and make YouTube videos of, hey, if you're a shaman and you want this rune that's going to enable your tanking, if you're a warlock and you want to enable demon metamorphosis mode that enables your tanking and 500% armor buff, do X, Y, and Z, that's not happening. So that's pretty cool. There's so many things. There's going to be new consumable recipes. There's going to be new trinkets. There's going to be PvP in the whole zone, which they said is going to be similar to Alterac Valley, which is my favorite PvP battleground. This is going to award Warsong Gulch rep because the only battleground available at launch for level 25 makes sense is Warsong Gulch. So it's going to be super cool. I want to play a shaman. It seems like they'll be interesting. Shaman or druid, just so we're clear. Shaman or druid. Not sure yet. Both of them will be able to tank, which is good. With limited time, you'll be able to get on a tank, do a dungeon. Excellent. And probably have a bunch of fun in PvP. It looks like Shaman are going to be able to nearly one-shot people, which will be fun. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be, as more and more stuff comes out and as the season emerges and begins, we'll be following along with that as well. What else are we going to talk about? Quick sports update. We do always do a little sports update. We know Fujo's very Canadian. We're going to follow along with our Leafs. There's been a ton of things that have happened with the Leafs since the last time we spoke. We don't need to go into the whole new GM thing. However, again, in the offseason, the Leafs tried to get tougher. They tried to get tougher, and mixed results. Very mixed results. There's definitely going to be they're going to need some new defense. It's unfortunate. I think they're going to need that. I don't think their defense is big enough and mean enough to go win a Stanley Cup. They've got a bunch of skill. Again, we always talk about this with the current Leafs team. A ton of skill, which is what all the teams in the league want, because it's incredibly hard to find. But you also just can't get beaten up constantly. So they're going to need bigger and meaner defense. They're going to go and do it. We'll get into details as this stuff is happening. Jays update. My beloved Toronto Blue Jays made it to the wild card series and lost and got incredibly solid pitching like they did all season, and they didn't score runs. It sounds like there's going to be a bunch of signings and tradings. Our GM said there's going to be some movement in the offseason. So again, as that happens, we're going to follow up on it. But that was the sad news for my Toronto Blue Jays. But they made it. It's okay. They made it to the postseason. We'll take that as a small victory. But obviously, pennants fly forever. You can have some personal awards. Same thing with this Leafs team. They're gonna have a lot of personal awards. I don't care if 4 of their forwards score 50 goals in a year. You gotta win some championships to really like. Let's look at the Raptors. The Raptors won a championship, right? That pennant flies forever. You can buy Raptors championship T-shirts forever for that year because we were here and when it happened. Both the Jays and the Leafs, they're close. They're pushing. They got to make some changes to get it done. What else happened since we've spoken? Diablo 4 came out. Diablo 4 is a massive game and a Blizzard game. I try not to be too Blizzard-centric. That's why Tears of the Kingdom stuff, Smash Bros, we're talking about it. However, Diablo 4 came out and it was really well received. And then things changed and they released their first season. And again, some of the narrative online kind of shifted. And we know we don't get bogged down in a lot of the negativity here. In case you're not aware, I'm not going to get bogged down on that negativity of a lot of these things because that's just not what I do. I can't live like that. But there was some pushback against it, and the season came too quickly, and people hadn't finished leveling, and then they have to start a new season and re-level and this whole thing. But and some of it may be valid, but I know I have real life friends who play Diablo 4 and they think it's still great. And they just kind of laugh at some of the complaints and stuff like that the same way I do when I see a lot of this stuff, because it's like, well, if you enjoy the game, just play the game. Right? Like if you're going to enjoy Super Mario, just play Super Mario. It doesn't matter what's going on. Speaking of which, new Super Mario came out as well, and it looks fantastic. The problem is Blizzard has a bad track record with some of their recent releases, let's say. Diablo 3 started with a real money trading auction house. Overwatch 2 was, a quote unquote game that was really just an update for Overwatch. But then was allowed to add greedier monetization. And then they said, well, we're going to have PvE. And then they canceled PvE. I think that also happened in the past 6 months. So that was news. That's something we would have talked about. Blizzard also, released Warcraft 3 Reforged. So Diablo 4, I should say, got really good reception at first, but it just didn't really pay off the way that I think everyone was hoping. And really the bigger Blizzard news, if we're going to talk about it, really becomes Microsoft news, because in mid-October, Microsoft officially moved to acquire Activision Blizzard, meaning Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Crash Bandicoot, which was the PlayStation 1 mascot, and Candy Crush are all Microsoft properties. We're definitely going to expect them to be available on Game Pass, probably moving to Steam as well. A lot of these things that have never really been on Steam before. which is interesting because Overwatch 2 was added a little while ago in these past 6 months. It has one of the lowest rated scores of all time on Steam because people are not happy about the way it's been supported. I don't like this. I don't think it's good to just consolidate. I know business-wise for Microsoft, hey, they have a bunch of cash. Let's use it to grow the business. I don't like consolidation like this because I think that when companies are challenging each other in a good way, creatively in this space, right? It really leads to better products for people who enjoy gaming. And it seems like there's going to be less and sure, there are going to be separate divisions and separate groups and all of this, but it's still under the Microsoft banner and under the Microsoft flag. And I'd rather if there was more competition for consumer money. And I think it's probably better for the industry to have that competition. So we're going to see. I hope these things continue to be all good and supported properly, and can't do much worse than Overwatch 2 and Warcraft 3 Reforged. So let's hope, but I don't think it's a great idea when there's less options and choices for consumers. Okay, and now let's end on a real Gaming Dad Fujo topic. This is something we would have loved to have dug our teeth into back on the streaming days. Sriracha sauce shortages. This has been a really big deal in the Fujo household, and maybe in your household too. It's been so what I consider Sriracha sauce. I think a lot of people also know of as the rooster sauce. I'm probably gonna butcher the pronunciation, but I'm gonna stick with it this whole time. It's the Hui Fong Sriracha. That's the rooster sauce, and the story of, in part at least, why there's been a massive shortage of Sriracha sauce. I can't find it any grocery store anywhere near me. I've checked a whole bunch in different where I live, where I work. Can't find it. And so this is how the story goes. I looked into this because this and then the story was interesting. So let's chit chat about it. The Hoi Fong peppers have been grown almost exclusively by the Underwood Ranches for 28 years, and that ended in 2017. So what happened is Hui Fong kind of backed out and messed with their contract, causing the Underwood Ranch, to lose tens of millions of dollars. So they pushed Hui Fong pushed Underwood Ranches to buy more land and produce more peppers, because they said, well, we want to let's make more Sriracha. Let's you grow more peppers. We're going to make more Sriracha. We're going to make more money. There's then some he said, she said story of what happened was Hui Fong waited until the Underwood executive teams were not around, potentially vacationing, potentially out of not accessible, and said they're only going to pay $500 per ton. However, it costs Underwood $610 per ton to produce the peppers. And Hui Fong refused to prepay for the crops. But then Underwood said, well, we can't do this. And since they refused to prepay for the crops, nothing was planted. And they were therefore Underwood Farms was left with thousands of acres of bare farming land, and it ended up being too late in the season to grow anything else. And in those first 2 years, they lost $14.5 million. They then won damages in a lawsuit, and now are producing their own Sriracha, which I think is excellent retribution. So Hui Fong then moved to source their peppers from farms in California, New Mexico, and Mexico. And they have all recently, in the past year plus, 18 months or so, been suffering from serious drought. And that, because they have not been able to produce their peppers, that is what's blaming, if there's not enough input to create Sriracha, there's not going to be enough Sriracha. And that is why now we're faced with our current Sriracha shortages, because Hui Fong changed their source of their peppers. So I love the fact that Underwood Ranches is creating their own Sriracha. I actually have a bottle in my fridge right now. That's the only Sriracha-esque sauce that I was able to find. I didn't know it was until we checked the story out, and then I checked my fridge, and I said, well, what do we have in the old Fujo fridge? That's what we have. It's fantastic. There's actually a video documentary you can watch on the topic, and it follows the founder. And in this documentary, you see the son-in-law who's now since taken over the company, and seems like a bit of a business bro, if you catch my meaning. So it seems like not a huge surprise that things have kind of gone sideways and not planned all this stuff out. The founder apparently seems excellent and seemed I obviously no personal direct experience, but from what you've seen in the documentary and in other media forms, other interviews and stuff like that, seems like a pretty decent person. So it's kind of obvious. It's obviously it's unfortunate because it's going to cost people jobs. It costs Underwood Farms lots of money and probably costs people's jobs there. So you never want to see that sort of thing. But it's great that they were able to figure it out themselves. Great that they were able to start doing their own sriracha. It's delicious. And good for them. And so if you're at the grocery store wondering, hey, why is there no sriracha right now? 2017, that's where it all started. And then there's some droughts and water shortages, and the peppers aren't getting grown. And that is going to be it for today's episode. We kind of did a really, really quick 6-month recap. I've been doing great. I hope you are doing great. The plan, we're going to set the plan right now. Gaming Dad Fujo podcast episode every other Friday for now, moving forward. I think that's going to be reasonable. Give me the whole week. I can find one night during the week, hopefully, to sit down and record, and we'll be able to get something, and we'll be able to chat. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know what gaming is going on for you. I'm hoping to be beating Tears of the Kingdom within the next couple months, getting a little more Smash Bros. Ultimate in. I don't know why I'm getting. Maybe I'll just go online and get destroyed and stop playing. But I just kind of feel like I want to boot it up and see what happens. Classic World of Warcraft Season of Discovery. Probably going to have to give that the old college try. And then we'll see what else pops into our radar. And obviously next week we're going to get into all sorts of fun, other gaming-related, gaming news topics like we always do. We're going to have to talk about Ahsoka next week because that's season 1. I'm hoping it's only season 1. There's going to be lots of other seasons. Season 1 of Ahsoka's ending. We got to talk about that and why the Clone Wars and Rebels are core Star Wars watching mandatory media. And we're going to end it there. I'm going to say, hi, everyone. It's been great to talk. Leave a message. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the bell so you get notifications of when these videos go live. If you're on podcast, rate and leave a message there as well. Like and subscribe on YouTube. It's been fantastic to come back. We're gonna stick to the schedule every other Friday. Mark it on your calendars. Hit the subscribe and all that so you can get notifications. I miss you all. Be safe. Be good to each other. And we will talk to you sometime very, very soon. Bye-bye.